live, everybody. But we're also on tape. We are deep down in the bowels.
That one was over the top.
Christopher Folds, Bennett, Magic Mike, and Billa. Episode 104. Season 2, Episode 4 of Kamloops Last Week.
That's right.
4?
Absolutely. I got 104. I was
do?
thinking last night, I couldn't sleep last night, so I got up at 6 or 3 or 4, and I was just pondering stuff. And I think about 104, I thought, well, I'm going to look something up. So I knew that 104 take 223, take away 104 is 1919. So I thought, what happened in 1919? Right away I knew, Black Sox,
World War
the Black Sox scandal.
Black Sox scandal.
Right, you know, Shoeless Joe and...
Can you run that logic through me again? Please, just it's one more time, a little slower.
Well, it's a 104th show, so
yeah.
it's the year 2023. So 2023, take away 104.
Minus 104, got you. Okay, all right. Okay.
Equals 1919.
Was 1918 the end of World War I or 1919?
1918.
1918.
Yeah, so 1919 was Shoeless Joe. It's the Black Sox scandal. And I read up on it, and I learned some more stuff about it last night, which was fascinating. Anyway, Chicago White Sox through the World Series for a pittance, and after losing the first 2 games on purpose, the thugs who hired them were going to pay them much less, so they started winning all the games, and they lost the last game. And it was best of 9 back then. It went to 9. Interesting stuff, and the fates of all those players. Very
Scandals
interesting.
in baseball since the start.
It's the best, yes. That's also the year, 104 years ago, that one of the great prime ministers died in office. Wilfrid Laurier, or died. I don't know if he was in office, but he died in February, so there you go.
Bobby Bond, you were rattled?
Yesterday, yes. Bobby Bond. I was to talk to my wife. I said, Bobby Bond just died. She goes, who's that? And I started telling her the story. I tell people. She goes, oh, yeah, that guy. She goes, that guy, not the soccer player. I said, exactly. Bobby Bond, 1964, breaks his ankle in Game 5 or Game 6? Game 5 of the Stanley Cup Championship against Detroit, Toronto, Detroit. Breaks his ankle in the second period, I think. Comes back. Breaks his ankle, comes back, scores the winning goal in overtime. Next game, I think, in Detroit, the Leafs win the Cup. And he's just an epitome of toughness.
And you took
he died
the opportunity
yesterday at age 86.
to rip soccer players.
Well, because when you see soccer players, you know, you look at them and they fall down, they roll around and take a stretcher off. You always have to remind people, Bobby Bond.
Bobby Bond.
That's all I'm saying.
We got a great show today. Mike, how you doing?
I'm great. I'm really good, actually. Got lots of exciting things going on. Just finished Rib Fest, which was a huge success. Biggest beer gardens in Kamloops history.
Well, because there's no garden.
There's no garden. It was
No
all one.
garden.
So it was a festival-style liquor license, and I'm happy to say that there was no abuse going on. It was just nothing but great time. We had the Eagles tribute band on Saturday night with over 12,000 people in attendance in the park. It's the biggest crowd.
Cool.
It was fantastic.
Did you have some kind of greasy side deal going on? $350 delivered from Bennett this morning?
Oh. Well, okay, so here's what happened. Somebody, you may have seen circulating some of the socials, somebody had their guitar stolen out of their car or wherever it was. They came into the store, they're looking at a River Song guitar. So it's on our radar. We've been watching, we've been sharing a little bit about what's going on. And then we saw it on Marketplace.
You found the guitar?
They're trying to sell it on Marketplace.
Oh, man.
So I reached out and I said, you want $300 for this guitar? At first I was like, I'll buy it. I'll just buy it. You know, $300, no problem. Then I thought, what if this person that stole it, I really want to get this guitar back to the person that owns it. Even if it's, what it costs us $300, whatever. So then I said, I'll give you $300. I sent an offer for $350, and they finally responded and said, accept it. And I was like, okay, great. Meet me down at somewhere neutral, down at the park, and I'll give you the cash for it. Then I said, I'll give you $350 for it. I know the person that it belonged to.
Oh, okay.
And because I didn't want to make it sound like I'm trying to get them, you know.
Like to catch a predator, that's what it was like.
I'm not really caring about that nearly as much as I want to get the guitar back, because this is the first guitar the lady bought. Guitars are become a part of your soul, you know, and she wrote songs with it. The only thing I wanted to do was get this guitar back. So I said, listen, come down anytime during Ribfest. I have $350 cash. Send him a picture of the cash. Come talk to the sound guy. You give him the guitar. You can take the cash. It's super neutral. We're not out trying to do anything. And And the guy just never showed
Oh,
up.
yeah, he was never going to show.
Never
I think
showed.
you should have done like
You should have just did
To
the.
Catch a Predator, Luthier Looter version.
Luthier Looter.
Yeah.
Or if you don't care about catching this guy, because you don't know if this guy stole it, he could have found it. I mean, legally, he can't be charged because you can't prove he stole the guitar.
And I'm sure he knows that. And I know that.
But
Yeah.
the thing is, maybe next time you should have just said, "Here's 350. Let the guy go. Get it back to the person, and she'd be great." She'd be
Well, let's
grateful.
praise Mike for his efforts, though.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
well, I tried that. I said, listen, I will come out to wherever you are and pick up the guitar. I've got the cash on me,
Yeah.
right? But I was trying to make it something that was...
Yeah, but when you revealed your hand and said, "Hey, I know whose guitar this is. I want to get back to them,"
Then they're going to
right away
the
they're
cops are
going to
gonna
run
be there.
away. Yeah, they're going to run away. So
Well,
it was well intentioned but poorly executed. That's all I'm gonna say.
Terrible job, Mike.
I tried it. I tried it first the one way, and there
Oh.
was no responses.
Okay, you
so-
tried the first way then.
All right, fair
Yeah.
enough.
Okay, that is an interesting story. And
is it
so she
still-
still doesn't have her guitar back, which sucks.
Is this still on Marketplace?
No, he took it down. He said he sold it, and I said, "Well, is it sold or is it not?" You know, obviously fake name, no profile, kind of a thing. And I just hope that
Unfortunate. Yeah,
maybe
loser.
she did get it back. I really don't know, but
Yeah, it's a bummer.
We have a musical guest today, Kevin Roy. Do you know Kevin?
yeah, the singing cop, yeah,
Also,
karaoke cop.
yes, one half of the Loops, and they attempted to set a Guinness
Actually, it's
record.
Loops. If you say the Loops, they get upset. It's the Loops.
Okay, well, I said the band Loops, didn't
You
I?
said
No,
the
it's
Loops.
the Loops.
Did I? Okay,
Yeah.
I apologize.
It's the loops.
It's Loops.
It's Loops.
The loops.
No, it's Loops.
Oh boy.
Well, we'll ask when he's here.
Okay. All right.
The record attempt was playing 9 concerts in 9 cities over a 12-hour period. And we'll find out if they completed that or not when Kevin Roy joins us in a little bit. Meanwhile, you have been working overtime. Just the arbitration decision, you up all night again. And what do you learn?
Oh, you mean the arbitration
Yeah.
decision with the city? Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's a weird thing. Michael Potestio, our reporter who covers City Hall, he's away this week. He's in Edmonton visiting family. And when he left, he filed a few stories that I post on the weekend to keep the website fresh. And one of the stories he posted was, no word yet on arbitration decision.
Yeah.
And I was going to post that on Monday. And before I even posted it, it got released.
Yeah.
It's just weird timing, right?
Yeah.
Because it's been like a year and a half since
And
we're
we
waiting for
talked
this.
about it not long ago.
Yeah, we've been waiting. Everyone's waiting, and it's taken forever. Anyway, the bottom line is the City of Kamloops a couple years ago revamped its bylaws department. And instead of having bylaws officers and civilian jail guards separately work in the RCMP cells, they made them all into one thing called community service officers. And they claimed they had to do this because the role of the bylaws officers was changing. It's rather than looking after dogs and parking tickets primarily, they're now dealing with a lot of social issues, a lot of homeless encampments, a lot of person-to-person interactions on the street. And so they felt that they need to up their game, have an education, a 2-year diploma in certain things, fitness tests, all this stuff. They have a right to do that, as the arbitrator ruled, but the way they did it was wrong.
Okay.
So this big it came out, and it wasn't released. It hasn't been released to the media, the public yet. But the city sent out a press release saying, in light of the arbitration ruling, and they say it found that we have a right to do what we did, but we kind of went about it the wrong way, and we're grateful, and we're working with the union, and everything's gonna be great. And I'm like, well, where's the ruling?
Yeah.
No one had the ruling.
Yeah.
So it's not on the LRB website. I emailed a certain email you do to get it. Haven't responded. I got my hands on it that night. I got a copy of it. 79 pages, very dense, very complicated, very legalese, a lot of case law.
Because even the boiled down version you posted, like it's a
lot to take in because it's a lot. But the bottom line is, so I read it. It took a lot of like hours on Monday night to go through it because it's very technical, right? And you want to make it kind of at least make sense to the reader. And I think the story does. It boils down to this. The arbitrator, Andrew Sims, found that, yes, the city has a right to change things, but how they did it violated the collective agreement. That's a big deal. It violated the contract. So he found he made 3 declarations in there, all against the city, not against the union. Going back first, he dismissed the city's primary argument that they had a right to do this and nothing was wrong. And he dismissed the union's argument that it was totally wrong and everyone should get their jobs back right away. He said, no, but he did say the city had a right to do it, but how they did it was wrong. They violated the contract by changing the shifts without consultation, by introducing probationary periods, and they violated the contract by wrongly telling the people that their jobs were eliminated when they should have had a process. And the third thing they did was they screwed up by telling them what options they had. It's kind of technical, but the people were told, their options. It wasn't clear to them. So there's 32 people involved. 7 right now are CSOs, community services officers. 25 are no longer. Some retired, some took severance, some took a year off and then just retired, and some took other jobs in the city, and some of those jobs were lower pay.
Yeah.
So, and there's a lot of stress, a lot of mental health issues amongst some of the employees. A lot of weird stuff. Like one employee used to work as I think a pool attendant at TCC. He liked that job. He became a bylaws officer. So he says in his interview, well, can I go back to that job? And he was told no. Yet the arbitrator noticed that other people got hired with less experience and they got that job. So there's a lot of disconnect going on there. The bottom line is the city was found to have violated the collective agreement, but the arbitrator did not make any awards. He didn't give them their jobs back. He didn't order any money. He says, you screwed up, but both of you go back to the negotiations and try to resolve this. And if you don't, then I will come forward and I will have to hand down some kind of judgment.
So as far as the compensation and potential kind of taxpayer
to be determined.
burden,
but I think the taxpayer is going to be on the hook for sure, because there's 25 employees and the union is adamant that they want them made whole, which means any money they lost between then and now, which is a few years ago, they want them reimbursed. They also want them to be offered their jobs back if they want them. And they want, I think in there's damages, because it's a very stressful thing. People's lives are upended. So, 25 employees, how much money is that going to be? I don't know, but I would bet that there's going to be a significant amount of financial compensation going, and we're going to have to pay for it.
Another thing about this, and I read your column, was, and this is the stuff that bothers you, kind of the word salad press release the city sent out, because you would have thought that, we're okay, we've kind of almost won this thing. And
had we not accessed and obtained the decision later that day, and you just relied on the city's press release, which I didn't post because there was no context to it. Someone said, where is it? Well, we don't post something you have no context to. I think Rothenberger posted it, but it was pointless because it doesn't tell you anything. The city came out and it was just all mamby-pamby, sort of everything is great. A lot of catchphrases and buzzwords.
Mutually parted ways, retired from the Blazers.
Just that kind of shit. And it just, what drives me nuts is they're not fooling anybody. And this wasn't an egregious press release. This was okay.
Yeah.
But some of the stuff you get, Don Hay is
retiring from the Blazers.
Yeah, no, he's not. He was fired. Just admit it. Whatever. Anyway, that's the thing that drives me nuts, because you think you're fooling people, but what you're drawing attention to the fact that it's all bullshit. So anyway, it was a press release that basically said the arbitrator agreed that we could do this, but we did it in a different way, and then it went on about how. And we're pleased to put this behind us, and it's not behind us at all. And we want to work forward and collaboratively with our stakeholders, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And I get it. And I said in my column, I have no qualms with the communications people at the City Hall, Wendy Heska, Christine
We understand
Rodriguez.
the game and how
we
it
understand
works.
That's your job. You have to do that. But they have to understand that we see through it, and it's tiresome when you get it from the federal government, the provincial government, and the city, when just say what it is.
Yeah.
Call a spade a spade. It's black and white. Just say what it is. The word salads drive me nuts.
And this is why you need news organizations.
Oh, just to spell it out.
To cut through
the
it,
crap.
to filter through the bullshit.
Yes, absolutely. So, they could have said, we're disappointed. We didn't mean to violate the contract. We hope to mitigate any damage to the taxpayers, and we're going into negotiations. That's basically what happened But if you read the release, you'd never know. The release bore no resemblance to the decision, is what I'm saying. Hardly. And anyway, it just pissed me off.
Okay, switching gears. The mayor, Kamloops Mayor Reid Hamer-Jackson, he filed his reply to Katie Neustaeter, Kamloops City Councilor's response to his lawsuit.
Yeah, it's getting back and forth like a ping pong game.
Yeah.
It's like my pickleball game tonight. So on March 17th of this year, Katie Neustaeter made a statement. Council stood behind her, and she claimed that Reid Hamer-Jackson had violated personal and professional boundaries, had belittled staff and everything, and had done a bunch of stuff. He was a bore. He was a bully. On June 12th, a few months later, he filed a lawsuit of defamation, saying that's not true. You defame me. My reputation is being sullied. I'm suing you for defamation. And then she responded, because she has 28 days to respond, and she responded and citing a whole bunch of stuff that she claims he did, some of which came out in the investigation, separate investigation we got a copy of that we wrote about. And then last week, Reid, through his lawyer David McMillan wrote it, because it's very legalese. He responded to her response, and he wants some of that stuff in there that she claims happened struck by a judge. And August 21st, they're going to have a hearing in Chambers. I think it's Vancouver, I'm not sure. And they're going to ask a judge to amend the lawsuit response so that some of these things are struck. And this is before it even gets to trial. So it's just a long back and forth, and who knows where this is going to go.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. I mean, does this have a taxpayer impact too? And like, what's next here?
Well, right now, Katie Neustaeter is indemnified, which means that she's protected. She doesn't have to pay her own legal fees. We're paying her legal fees through the city's legal fund, because. So I'm not sure how that works, whether there's a flat rate, a retainer, or whether they pay per hour. If they're paying per hour or per syllable spoken, as I've encountered with some lawyers, it'll go up, right? So I don't know. I mean, but either way, we're paying. We're paying for her defense. Now, if she loses, I'm not sure what happens there. There's an unclear thing about whether or not she's still protected.
Bottom line, it's back and forth and just kind of ridiculous. I mean, like,
yeah, it's ridiculous. It's what else can you? We've talked about this ad nauseum. It's just crazy. It's craziness.
This kind of reminds me of something that we used to have to do in school. Sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Maybe they missed that in
they
school.
might have missed that. But nowadays, with all the human rights tribunals, I think words are worth some money now. Absolutely. Yeah. But I think it's interesting. Last night's council meeting was a marathon one. It was marathon. I think they spent 6 hours alone talking about the Noble Creek water thing. But what I found interesting listening to this thing as I mowed the lawn was that at one point, Reid, Hamer-Jackson, and Bill Sarai, and they have no love lost between them. Yeah. But Bill made a suggestion about how to try to save this, save the water for the farmers. And Reid said that's a very good idea.
Oh, okay.
You make a great idea. And then they took a 5-minute recess. Reid went to phone a minister, Minister Bowen Ma, emergency management. Comes back and says she's left a message with him saying that our boys are working on it. We're trying to get an answer to you by this week. So at this point, it seemed council, even though there was a lot of sniping yesterday, there's a little bit of collaboration, good. And it was good to hear. I didn't see it because I was listening to it, but it was good to see that or hear that people who are arch enemies, based political enemies. He complimented him on that. They worked together. They got a call to the minister. Came back. Of course, earlier in that, when Stephen Karpuk told the farmers in Noble Creek, this is not easy for us. I have many sleepless nights. Reid goes, how many nights have you not slept?
He wants the number.
Yeah, he wants. And I thought that was pretty funny, going back to normal. But anyway, no, it's good. And yesterday's meeting, as divisive and crazy as it was at points, showed that they can get shit done, and they got some stuff done. And with this file, it took hours and hours, but I would say they got more done in that 5 or 6 hours than in the last few weeks. And I felt really sorry for Greg Whiteman, who was the utilities manager in charge of all that, because he was getting bombarded from all sides, and he knows his stuff, and he's trying to explain what he's doing. He did at the end. But he had to sort of wait, bite his tongue to say, look, I'm not on anyone's side. I want them to have water, but we got to protect the city's liability in case this infrastructure collapses and everyone has to pay. So he has the patience. Is it of Job? Is that it? The
yes.
Patience of Job. He has the patience of Job, and I wouldn't want his job, and I admire what he's doing.
And he's supposed to be on our show coming up here.
Well, we're trying to get him on the show to talk about it.
He's tougher than Obama to get a hold of.
Well, he's so busy right now. We're supposed to have Glenn Farrow on the 23rd. I think he's locked in.
He's another guy.
Yeah, well, he's locked in next week. Talk about organics.
He's locked in. Okay.
He's locked in. But Greg Whiteman, it's a tough job he's doing because he's getting it from all sides. But he did really well yesterday's meeting too.
Folder Dash, surprise edition. Let's do it, okay?
Folder Dash.
Folder Dash.
Folder Dash. Folder Dash.
Maui wildfires. And we're not making light of the situation. More than 100 people have died.
Yeah,
we're not making light of this. In fact, we're kind of defending the work that's been done and by firefighters and by media getting the word out.
Yeah.
Twitter
is a cesspool of nonsense.
It's a cesspool. And we're going to play this video from a lady Oh yeah, can we get the slide up here, Bill? The word of the day: blindfold scold. Okay.
Ooh, I like that.
Blindfold scold, and we can see the video here right now.
I have been trapped in Lahaina for the last 4 days. And I experienced firsthand what was going on there. What I went through is not important. I need to get this message out. This was not a natural disaster. This was a direct energy attack on the people and the place of Maui. If you know what lives there, what descendants live there, you know why. And you know why it happened on 8/8. And if this is not something that you believe, it's time to stop being a sheep. They came in and they took control. There were trees standing and the buildings gone. This system, this weather system, came in from the mountains, from the east. That does not happen. They were not telling people anything. They were not letting people in to help. And they were letting people go in to get burned alive. There were people burning alive in the streets. There were people dead in the water. There were hundreds, if not thousands, of people that died. What they're telling you in the news is not true, and I lived it firsthand. I sat with the people. This is not to bring fear, this is to educate, because there is darkness that's being hidden. And soon people are going to see. I know now why Gaia sent me there. And I'm going to use this platform. There was no warning. There was no nothing. Please boost this post.
That's the part.
I want everybody to see this. I don't give a fuck about me. I want everybody to see this.
Okay, so before you tee off, Twitter, you started
What?
off. What's that?
Just ended. Just ended.
Oh, okay. So I thought, did Bill say something?
No.
Yeah, she said what you saw in the news is not what happened.
Oh, okay. Anyway, Folds is on Twitter. What was it late or was it anyway?
I
So
don't even know. I should have just stayed off Twitter.
this was innocent enough. In comes Foldsy. Is she related to the "He's Not Real" winging on the airplane? My God, this is like watching a bad theater audition. I don't get that reference. What's
What?
that? "He's Not Real" winging. What are you talking
The
about?
wing nut. Remember the lady? He's not real. I'm getting off this airplane.
Oh, right.
Yeah, wing nut, yes.
Okay, so you post that. In comes randomness, right at Foldsy. Go ahead and keep your blindfold on. Blindfold school. Eventually, your inability to see will lead you to exactly where they want you. If you've never learned to listen to your gut instincts, now would be the time to learn, and that got you going. You're not having it. In comes Foldsy. Says the person too gutless to post under their real name. Better check your tinfoil hat to make sure it's protecting you from the 5G networks and chemtrails. Hurricane plus winds plus toppled power line plus drought equals fire. Sigh. She comes back, or he, not gutless, just smart, and I'd rather wear a tinfoil hat than a blindfold. And another one from yesterday, you just said, you are such an idiot.
That's a different guy. That's Matt Wallace, who claims that Oprah Winfrey's behind this. I mean, it's absolutely bonkers. Bonkers. When this morning I'm watching a news clip online, City News out of Toronto. They had this. It's an ABC story, and there's a guy they're talking to, and he lives there. He's a regular guy who lives in Maui, and he was explaining how it started. You know, there was a hurricane, a few offshore. The winds were picking up. It's been very dry there, like everywhere. And he heard crack, crack, crack. It was 6:40 a.m. And he looked and he saw the wooden poles, power poles, were falling down. And he thought, shit, that's not good because those wires are live. And he went outside and took his dog outside, and he saw sparks on the hill behind his house. And he grabbed his hose and he started filming because he wanted to send this to the police. And then the fire just went up the hill and then down into the town. It went crazy. And the winds, he said, were just insane. So that's what happens. It's not a conspiracy. It's a tragedy. And what gets me about this lady, that could be, you know, mental illness. It could be whatever. It's sad. Her and all these other people online, some of whom are doing this deliberately just to be crazy, just to provoke people. they always say they did it.
Yeah.
But it's also vaguely word salady.
Yeah.
They never. And one person on that thing said, "Well, who are you talking about? Like, get to the point. Like, who did this? It's they did it. They don't want you to know. Dark force. What are you talking
And then
about?
please boost this post.
Yeah, but they never get to the point. Like, who does this? Who's behind this? Is it Oprah Winfrey? Is it Bill Gates? Is it the U.S. Army? It's always and Gaia.
Yeah. What's that
I think
about?
that's sort of a yoga thing. It's one of those hippie terms for Earth. Gaia sent me here. Gaia is Mother Earth.
I
Something
think
like that.
Mike might be having some of these beliefs, I think.
Well, since Facebook has taken away all credible news stories, we have a friend who says that they were on TikTok, getting their news from TikTok.
Oh, great.
And that for sure there was fire beams being sprayed down onto the city, and that's what caused the fires. So
Well-
I think they might be the aliens.
It could be.
I'm not really sure.
When the Lytton fire, when the fire on June 30th, 2021 devastated Lytton, there's a guy in Vancouver with a lot of followers who claimed it was space lasers that did it, and people believed this stuff. And you'd say, well, what's the harm in that? Well, it is harmful because what people start believing this, then they believe other stuff, and then you get to idiots like Alec Jones claiming that the Sandy Hook massacre was a hoax, and the people who believe that started harassing the families, the mums and dads of dead kindergartners, making their lives horrible. There's a freedom of speech, but the freedom ends when you start impacting other people's lives.
Well, there's enough gullible people that are on the lower IQ level that see that stuff.
And
they
this is
believe it.
why I think, and I've had arguments with people I know who say no, they're defending the First Amendment in the States. Shit like this should not be posted. It should be banned from Twitter because it's dangerous. It's wrong. It's patently wrong. It's not an opinion.
That's never going to happen, though. I mean,
But Elon Musk should be looking at this shit because this stuff is.
No, you don't want that.
causes
You don't want
stuff.
that
Yes,
censorship.
You do. Yes, you do. You want that shit out of there. Yes, you do. When it's patently false,
It's way too hard to
It's a poor
decide.
lady who's probably needs medical help, and then people are piling on and they're believing this stuff. It's absolutely crazy.
yeah.
It's absolutely nuts.
The Sycamoose fires a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I was there the day they started, and that was from a transformer blowing up, causing sparks.
Right.
Which
I remember
just
that
raged,
one,
and
yes.
I watched the whole thing happen.
Yeah.
So
No, I think it was probably a firebug from Moose Mulligan's.
it could be.
started
Yeah. The sun, could that not be a space laser? Technically.
Oh, that's a
in a
good
way.
point. So maybe they're right. Maybe I concede defeat. That's right. It's one big space laser. That's right. It's
All right, that's
one last thing on
It's not done.
no, because this goes to another thing I saw a few months ago. These people who believe that all the fires in Canada are being set deliberately by climate activists who want to take us down with the World Economic Forum, right? And then they posted a photo of a helicopter with flames coming out of it, and they're all like, "This is proof. This is proof."
This is it.
Well, they're doing the same thing at the Rossmore Lake fire yesterday and the day before.
Those are intentional
Those are
burns.
intentional.
Yeah.
They have flamethrowers up there, and they get ahead of the fire, and it's called planned ignitions, and they burn the fuel off ahead of the fire so they contain it.
No.
Someone saw, and that's a safer way to do it and more effective way to do it. They also do it on ground. You see firefighters like this all the time. But you take that picture without context and you post it, and people believe it.
This whole segment is a planned ignition.
It's absolutely bonkers.
It reminds me of the urban myth that's going on that Volkswagen has no electric cars on their lot.
Absolutely.
Well, I'll tell you what. We had
crazy.
an amazing weekend. All three of us. All three of us had such an amazing weekend. And I know, Mike, you kind of led the way again as to what we were going to do. We didn't go bird watching, thank goodness.
I love bird watching, though.
you do.
no,
Yeah,
You do.
but because it was Rib Fest and that was starting to get going on, and I felt kind of internally greasy from all the ribs I was eating. I thought it would be good if we could just go out and do something that would cleanse the soul again. Remember we did that hot yoga?
I remember that. Yeah.
But we went up onto the hoodoos out in Valley View and up into the mountain Lion's Peak, I call it, where
Oh,
you're
yeah.
looking down over Valley View.
Right across from Monty Creek.
That's right. And we were up there and looking down and doing some downward dogs and other yoga things.
So we were doing yoga on the hoodoos.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Hoodoo
And-
yoga. That's
But the ground was hard, so we thought ahead. Brought Sealy mattresses.
because the knees can get hurt on those rocks.
And that foam is really good for maintaining temperature. It didn't get too hot in the sun either.
But one person got a little bit too hot and started whining again, and it was Folds. And he's like, I got to get out of here. Guess who showed up to pick him up?
McDonald's with the thirst quenchers.
Well, yes, they did first, but then you forget this.
So Terry Lowe came up.
showed
He drove up the SUV
and
right
he was
there.
being
yeah.
so careful about the environment. He drove an electric car.
Electric car, yep.
And you started yelling at him again because you were complaining, oh, there's none of those in town. It takes 6 months to get an electric
And the
car.
interest rates are through the roof.
through the roof. And
But I
you're just
learned.
yelling at him. And I had to tell you, Foltz, there's 8 in stock now. Okay?
Maybe
Readily
7
available.
now.
Probably
Yeah.
6 because our show is seen by so many people.
That's right.
And the interest rates aren't through the roof. What's through the roof? And some of the sunroof would be my head as we drive it.
Well, yeah. Interest rates are through the roof right now, but Volkswagen's lease rates are down, down, down.
Yes.
Well, unless my variable rate mortgage is going through the roof here.
Oh yeah, I get fenced in on that.
And Folds went to the Aberdeen Playland and McDonald's for some reason as well after that. We don't know what happened there. We left him alone for that.
Well, I had a coffee and I kind of had to cool down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Too many nuggets.
It was a
Too
good
many
weekend.
Great weekend.
Yep.
Okay, let's move on. It's the Tattle of Hastings. We've got Kevin Roy from Loops, brought to you by McDonald's.
Filet-O-fish.
We actually don't have the filet-O-fish right now. It's our breakfast menu.
Oh, I know, but just in general, what do you think about the Filet-O-fish? Do you like it?
I don't know. I've never had it, actually.
Oh my goodness, I think it's severely underrated. I'd like to make an announcement, please. I'd like to order 2 of your fabulous, shopping local while I'm doing it, coffees. 2 medium coffees, please, both with 2 cream.
Okay.
And could you make one of those decaf?
Kevin Roy, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
You're one half of Loops.
I am, yes.
Where's
yes.
the other half?
The other half that is at the day job. We're working hard and we're grinding, but we haven't quite got to that point where he can leave it. So something came up last minute. He's a manager at River Shore. So
Yep.
if anyone plays golf, go by and say hi to John.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's John
We'll give him a
Fennell.
mulligan on that one.
Nice,
Oh, there
nice.
we go. Okay, tell us about the group. How did you form and what type of music do you play?
Yeah, a lot of people in town kind of know my story, and I was an RCMP officer for almost 10 years. I retired because of PTSD, and I'm a single dad, 10-year-old son, so at the time in 2019, I was just kind of searching for life after being a police officer, and I was hosting open mic nights at Tumbleweed Lounge downtown. John actually was my main competition. We were kind of competing for like the best open mic night in town, but we never met each other. And he was hosting one at the Blaze, the pizzeria up on in Sally. And he came out one night when I was actually away in Ontario with my son. He came out to check out my show. So my buddy that was filling in for me, he's like, hey, come on back next week, meet Kevin. He came the next week, started playing some songs together that night, just instant chemistry musically. And we're like, you know what, let's start jamming together. We eventually co-hosted the show for a few months, started playing once a month shows. And then in November 2019, we went down to Vancouver, played a couple gigs together. And we're like, you know what, let's actually see where this can go. If we're gonna do this, let's commit to it full time, make some rules for the group, set some guidelines and boundaries. And at that point, it was just put the foot down to the gas pedal, and we've been going ever since.
Okay, and we're having you on because Guinness World Record attempt. And just tell us where the idea came about.
Okay, so at the end of COVID, throughout COVID, we were trying to do whatever we could to stay relevant. We did a few other fundraisers and stuff in town and raise some money for United Way, things like that. And then we were trying to find something just to stand out from the pack. So I was looking up Guinness World Records. I'm a really competitive guy. And I was like, hey, why don't we go break a world record? Let's do something really huge on a grand scale. And we found a few that would suit us that we potentially break. But it just didn't feel organic enough. Like we weren't doing it for the right reasons and motivations. And we started kicking the idea around in 2021. We get all the way up to the end of 2022, and it kind of a light bulb went off in the head to why don't we do, because we're looking at doing a record for multiple cities, most concerts played in 12 hours. Why don't we do something that applies to all these different cities as a fundraiser? And I have 2 nieces who have cystic fibrosis. They spent in their entire lives, they're teenagers now, tons of time in BC Children's. So I was like, what if we did BC Children's, reached out to them, then the ball started rolling, and then it really kind of gained a lot of steam. And then it became more about the fundraiser even than just breaking the world record itself.
And the world record you're trying to beat was?
Most cities playing a concert over 12 hours, and the record was 8, and we did 9.
So you is it official now?
So we're waiting just on the certification from Guinness. So the thing about Guinness, it's an amazing company. It's massive, but it's a business, right? And they unfortunately, I had some good talks with like actually the brand sales manager for the West Coast of North America, just to be like, hey, is there any way you can help us on some of these costs so we can get one of those guys out there, shake my hand at the end and in John's hand and say, hey, you guys broke the record. Unfortunately, the adjudicator costs $16,000 American.
16 to bring an adjudicator.
Just to bring an adjudicator. Wow. And right now, as of this conversation, we're not finished the fundraiser. It's going until the end of August, but we've raised right around 20,000 Canadian. So if we paid for an adjudicator, we'd have the answer already because we did break the record by all the guidelines. Unfortunately, we would have taken every penny we raised for the hospital, given it to Guinness, and given the hospital like $5, right? So we're waiting for it just to come back. It can take like 12 to 16 weeks.
Okay.
It's a long process to get the official answer.
The day itself, which cities did you play?
We started in Squamish. Do you want the whole rundown?
Yeah, just run it.
Cool. Yeah, right through. Squamish, Vancouver, Abbotsford, Burnaby, then Chilliwack, Langley, Mission, Delta. Oh, sorry, no, Chilliwack, Langley. Oh no, where's the Richmond?
Richmond.
Messing up Richmond. I always mess up Richmond and Langley. Richmond, Mission, Delta. Then we finished in Langley.
And the reason it was so like this is because the rules are they have to be 50 kilometers apart,
sir.
right?
Yeah.
So you can't go Chilliwack, Abbotsford, Langley. You'd have to go Chilliwack over here to adhere to the rules.
Yeah.
So that's even, and you have to. You're at the whim of traffic. A crash on the highway screws you up.
Well, that was the biggest fear, right? Yeah. And when we planned it out, like we were so meticulous. We tried to do the whole carpenter thing, right? You measure twice, cut once, kind of thing. So we're like, let's make sure we have a plan. Let's make sure that our plan is like, it's giving us room to run from the car into each location, plus play the minimum 15 minutes, plus run back, bathroom breaks. Like we planned out every second of the day. And even with that, we still had an hour buffer. So we were supposed to be starting that last 15-minute set roughly at 8:40 p.m., whereas 10 p.m. would be the 12-hour cutoff. Right. Even with that extra buffer, we got to a point where we were about half an hour ahead of our hour buffer halfway through the day. Within the next 3 stops, it bled all the way down to about 20 minutes roughly spare room.
And we have the video here, Bill. It got down to the wire, but here's the video here.
So that was the last stop?
Yeah, that was it. That was at the Siding Creek Restaurant in Langley. 23 minutes to spare.
Wow. 23 minutes. I was going to say, how much time did you get under the gun?
And truthfully, we had about 45 minutes even as we were pulling up. There's a cool story on our Instagram where John actually, he was like doing a little video and be like, we're there, we're like 2 blocks away. So we kind of, if you guys remember, like when Usain Bolt broke that first world record in 2008, he kind of did the victory strut and did kind of the, so it was kind of that for the last little bit. We knew we had the record in the bag, so we're like, let's just really enjoy it. And
sweet. And what's it been like since? Have you had any, I mean, from the band's perspective, have you had more kind of attention paid to you guys as well?
Yeah. I mean, Kamloops this week has been awesome. We were on the front cover of the newspaper and stuff. And a lot of people that we didn't know were following us, just kind of now it's a little more of an uptick on like being in Costco and a random person coming up being like, hey, congrats on the world record. And that's good. Which has been really nice. I think it's easy to spot us. We always wear our merch.
Do you have any questions, Mike, music guy?
I've seen these guys play. I've got a Loops shot glass. They're shameless marketers, which I really love. They're a great group. They played for Ridfest, which is another big fundraiser for our community. So they got big hearts. And it's always fun to watch that go down. I have a question though. What was your shirt you were wearing?
Oh no, okay, so I'm glad you asked that because I was like, am I out of line if I just tell you guys as I'm asking? So we always tell everybody if they ask like, what does Loop sound like, or who are you if they've never heard us? Once, Mike, once you see us, you get the vibe. You're like, yeah, I get what these guys are all about. But if you don't know, we always say if Ed Sheeran and Lewis Capaldi were to have a musical baby, it would be Loops. And so John wore like a really funny Ed Sheeran shirt that we made custom that says like, ask me about my 100 million Spotify followers. And I wore, that's actually Lewis Capaldi. And it's from his music video, Forget Me. And it's like just him in like tidy whities. But with me, like if you were,
I was wondering if it was a self picture.
I
You
can't
know,
tell you how many people asked me that day. They're like, "That's so funny. You put yourself on." I'm like, "That's not me."
Well, John has a bit of Ed Sheeran in him too.
He does.
Yeah.
So we thought kind of the tie-in too. Like we
Yeah.
thought it was we were just doing it as kind of a wink to the people that are kind of our role models and we're aiming to emulate in our careers.
Gotcha. Last one. What's next, or what's the ultimate goal for the group?
The ultimate goal is we have massive high goals. We want to be one of those groups that people talk about for years. We're in this for the long haul, 20, 30-year, 40-year career. We always say we want to play Wembley Stadium. We talk about that on our podcast and stuff. It's a massive goal, but it's got personal significance. I was born in England. And
Okay,
means a
cool.
lot. So I mean, we're just grinding every day. We're trying to just focus on the next step in front of us. You guys heard Last Goodbye. That's our new single. So if people like that, check it out. That helps us out. And we have a couple more that we've already recorded that are in the bank, ready to release to the world.
Well, if you get to Wembley, we'll come along and film.
Oh, that'd be
film
awesome.
from Wembley.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's Loops. It's not the Loops.
Nope, just
I
Loops.
remember the first time I saw you. This is when you first started. You were playing at the Kamloops Art Party.
Oh, yeah.
When they were at their old location on 12th Street, the grand opening.
Yeah.
Just a little thing, and you were in the corner playing, and there's kids there, and I remember I posted something I think on Instagram just saying Art Party had a thing. The Loops played, and then you send a message saying it's just Loops.
Oh man.
So
yeah.
so
I was the worst at the start. I think I
Yeah.
corrected Mike one time too.
I said
like
so-
it's actually Loops, man.
So I said, well, this guy's
Yes.
pretentious prick. But
I
anyway,
know,
what I
I
did
know.
was I said, okay, that makes sense, Loops, so it's not the Loops. But Loops is obviously a play on Kamloops.
Yeah.
But
and
here-
the fact that we use loop pedals. in
Oh,
our
good. See, I was
performance.
going to ask that. Yes.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming in.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, guys.
Cheers.
I
No
really
worries.
appreciate the time.
You're a fan of System of a Down.
Very much so I am.
Can you tell me what does System of a Down have in common with Gord's Appliance and Mattress Center?
What do we have in common?
It's a tough one.
I'm trying to think of a smart play on word right here, but I don't know if I can think of anything.
Well, there's no toxicity in the workplace here. Not bad. Not bad. eh?
That's a good one.
Saved your
And it's
bacon.
true. And it's true.
That's good. Oh, what about Taylor Swift? You're a Swiftie.
I am very much a Swiftie.
Anything in common there that you can think of?
We have a good reputation.
Oh.
It's one of Taylor's albums.
Yes.
Reputation.
Okay, let's talk about the ovens because there's a blowout sale that's about to be happening.
Yeah, so these are the Maytag 8800, that's model number, slide-in ranges. They've discontinued this model and they're releasing a new one with just a couple more features and a new look to them. So we have got a couple of these left in the warehouse, so we just want to blow them out. They're really good ovens, 6.4 cubic foot capacity, 3 racks, true convection, so you can fit lots in there, big old turkey.
Big old turkey. And when you do a blowout sale, so we have like 3 or 4 of these.
Yeah, we've got 3 or 4 left in the warehouse. So their current sale price is $16.99. So we're probably not gonna knock off another $100 or $200 off of that, just to get them out of the warehouse. So if you're needing a new slide-in range, you can come on down to Gord's, and we've got a bunch in the warehouse ready to be blown out.
Thanks, Reese.
You should go play pickleball with them.
I'm playing tonight with the boys. You should come out and play.
No.
Cam says that you just don't like it.
Cam says I don't like it. I don't mind it.
Cam wonders, why does Marty come out? That's what I'm asking.
I think actually what's going on is it's not that you don't like it. It's what am I doing here? There we go. No, that's wrong. That's right. There we go. It's not that you don't like it. You guys are the reigning champions,
Yeah,
and you don't want to have any question.
We're just gonna stop now. Stop while you're ahead.
The greatest pickle player in ever history.
Big pickle player. Well, no, I do like that group, but I'm going to the gym already. I'm getting enough exercise. I don't want to go out and play pickleball
It's for fun.
at night.
You don't like
I just
playing
want to
for
go
fun.
home and relax because I'm working so much.
So what do
I
you
wanna
do?
go home
Okay,
and
for
relax.
example, it's Wednesday, right? It's Wednesday. You got the date tomorrow, right? The restart tomorrow.
I got a date tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah, you got a date tomorrow with the
It's
girl.
called the restart.
Well, not the restart, but you got your next date, right? Just 3 dates. It's great. You're on uphill trend. So tonight's Wednesday,
Yeah.
right? Our deadline was yesterday. Busy
but
day.
I'm going to be editing this video till
Yeah, yeah.
6 and pumping it out.
Yeah.
And I want to go home and have a nice dinner.
What are you gonna cook?
I got chicken breast ready to go.
Yeah, yeah.
I've got a plan for tomorrow night. Got to
Yeah.
figure out what we're going to do.
Yeah, yeah.
And I got a course I'm preparing for. I got to do
Yeah.
that work. And I don't have time. I got to the gym tomorrow first thing, and my knees are already hurting. So
You got to decide what you want to spend your time doing, and
So what you're
obviously
saying
you want to
is-
learn how to play guitar. That's really important.
Are you gonna learn
out
to play
there. And
guitar
you can do
too?
that at home too.
Actually, that'd
by
be
the
a
way.
good thing to take up,
Yeah.
guitar playing.
I do want to learn how to play guitar.
So you're not going to be pickleball tonight. That's what you're saying.
Nope, not playing.
Yeah.
Have you been to that place? What's it called? It's a new cocktail bar.
I can tell you no.
Stills.
It's a
Oh.
distillery downtown.
I think it has to do something with Rocky Mountaineer. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think I heard that.
They want to make,
Gin?
spirits there, gin and stuff. So far, they haven't been able to make it yet. There's kind of snafu, but they are open. But they're bringing, I think they're bringing in spirits right now. I talked to someone on the weekend that says they're trying to get that part going where it's a like a craft brewery. It's a craft distillery, but right now I think they're bringing in stuff to keep the business going.
Rosie at Kamloops Fit Center, my trainer, she said it's a cool little cocktail bar. It's new. It feels like you're not in Kamloops, so like you're in Vancouver type thing.
I think
it's at the Hive downtown.
It's at the Hive. I think it's
Yeah.
$13.50 a highball. So anyway, yeah.
And $1.50 for a beer.
And $1.50 for a beer. Happy hour is here.
I might be there tomorrow night.
Man, I
but
miss that band.
Yeah, me
before
too.
then, I might go out down to Valley View, say hi to Terry, and pick up price out an electric car.
You know what we should do? We should each go in there and demo a car and then just drag race them up and down. I think that'll be good advertising for Volkswagen.
We just drag race by gourds on Tranquil.
That's
there,
right, yeah.
Holding McDonald's out the window. Maybe that's our video. Breaking a bunch of laws.
And we can get the Loop to do a music thing for it.
Play out of the sunroof
Yeah, absolutely.
while we're balling down the main street. We can pull some Mainers.
Maynard.
Did they ever do that here in Kamloops? Were you guys? Did you guys grow up in high school years in Kamloops here?
No.
No,
Oh,
coast.
See, I didn't. I did it all in Vernon.
Yeah.
I grew up. I went to elementary school. Then for high school, I went to Vernon. Then came back. But in Vernon, we used to do Mainers up and down 30th Avenue.
Oh,
all
you
the
just
time.
drive up and down all night on Friday or Saturday.
Yeah, listen to car, listen to your stereo.
Like
and-
American Graffiti.
Yeah, people
Right.
peeling out and making big car noises. I never wanted to be part of that.
No, I wasn't.
Yeah,
part
me
of it
neither.
either.
Yeah.
That was you. Okay, good show. For Christopher, for Bennett, for Magic Mike, and for Bill, I'm Marty. We'll see you last week.
Last week.